Welcome to today's episode of the Group X podcast. I'm your host, Tony Zanato. Today I'll be talking to Susan Renata, one of the Group X managers at Les Mills Auckland City and a previous international master trainer and presenter for Les Mills International. Are you even in the right place? Why are you doing what you're doing? What are you getting out of it? Susan and I discuss how vulnerability isn't a weakness. So grab your favourite beverage, sit back and enjoy this episode. Susan, welcome. Welcome to the Group X podcast. It's so good to see you.
Thank you.
Mate,
Thank you for having me.
No, look, thank you for saying yes. When I reached out and you said, yeah, let's do it, I was beyond, I didn't know what to expect. When I reached out to so many of you overseas and said, hey, will you come on and have a chat with me? You know, give this thing a shot. Let's see how it goes. When you've said yes, I had that moment of being a little bit starstruck and going, oh, wow. She said, yeah, okay, yeah, cool. Tone, get it together.
Well,
So
here's the funny thing. Like, I don't see myself as a star. Like, I come into things pretty humble, and those people that know me out in the universe know that what you see is what you get every time.
Love that. I love that. That's brilliant. So let's kick it off right from the beginning then. Tell us, how did you get into the fitness industry? Where did your journey start?
Dial the clock right back. My mother found me hanging upside down on a clothesline when I was about 4.5 years, and went, "I'm either going to beat her or I'm going to channel this." And so I started gymnastics when I was about 5 years old.
Brilliant.
And loved gymnastics. Apparently, the story goes, I used to sleep in my leotards. I was constantly upside down and really enjoyed gymnastics. I enjoyed the sport until I was about 13, 14. And then I started growing and I got too tall for gymnastics. Like you've got to be quite compact.
Yep.
To get your turns and stuff like that. And I started injuring myself. So I did some coaching and for a couple of years. And then by the time I was 17, jazzergetics hit New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I remember my mum taking me and her friends bare feet down to the local community centre and doing a jazzergetics class. There were hundreds of us in this community hall.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my God, I love this. This is so cool. And then I joined a gym when I was 17 in my 7th form year. And I was the quintessential shoulder tap.
Yep.
I was right at the front of the class. I was doing everything way more than everybody else was. I was completely crazy. And the guy who was teaching actually said, "Do you want to come on stage?" And that guy was a guy called Gary Hudson. And at the time, he was the New Zealand aerobics pairs champ.
Oh, wow.
And him and his wife, who were the competing pairs champs, owned that gym, tiny gym in West Auckland. Anyway, so when I went off to university, I was like, well, I need to do this exercise thing, this group exercise thing.
Yep.
On the bones of my ass, being a student, there's no way in hell I'm paying for a membership. What do I need to do to get a free membership?
Yes.
You need to teach the class. I was like, okay, I've been 3 minutes on the stage without speaking. I think I've got this.
Yeah.
And but on the outside, I was always sporty, right? So after school, I did a phys ed degree at Otago University in Dunedin. I played every type of sport that I could get my hands on, I was involved in. So I was always that kid. If the boys were out playing rugby, Susan was out playing rugby.
Excellent.
And more often than not, could pass the ball better.
Yeah.
sidestep better. And so I was just like always drawn into the sort of competitive side of sports.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's kind of where it started. And then after my phys ed degree, I got a job working in a gym.
Yep.
And that job involved me cleaning the equipment and talking to members. My boss handed me 2 cloths and he went, right, clean the equipment and talk to members. I went, I've got a phys ed degree.
I'm not a janitor.
Shouldn't there be someone else doing that? But it was a great way into, this was a time, this would have been 1990. There wasn't even personal training.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? Fitness professionals were either athletes of a sport or were sort of gym bunnies, if you like.
Yep.
We were riding that wave, that group fitness wave that just came in and went woof. And so that's where I ended up.
Love it.
And then, and ended up with Les Mills. I busted my anterior cruciate and I joined Les Mills as a member and to rehabilitate my knee. And I was on my way to a step class one day. I was riding my bike and this guy almost ran me over. And of course I flicked him the bird and, I didn't have a helmet on or anything. It was so many levels of unsafe.
Oh, but it's back in the days where we didn't need a helmet though, yeah?
Don't need a helmet.
No.
You'll be fine.
I remember putting my helmet over my handlebars. Got to protect my handlebars, not my head.
So I went into Les Mills to do a step class, and the guy that had run me over, that I'd flicked the bird, took one look at me and he went, "Are you the girl that just pulled in front of me?" And I was like, "Yes." He goes, "Well, I'm Mark New." And
brilliant.
That was shoulder tap number 2. So we became best friends. And he was like, "You'd make a great instructor. You're already moving." I was teaching freestyle classes at the time. So yes, Mark New is actually responsible for the beginning of my Les Mills kind of journey.
Well, publicly we'll thank Mark right now for almost running you off the road on your bike, but also we thank you for not wearing a helmet and being in the right spot at the wrong time or the wrong spot at the right time, however you want to look at that one. But
100% both of those.
Yeah. That's awesome. I can only imagine your face or his face when you sort of both looked at each other and went sort of, "You."
That is exactly what happened. And then, of course, he taught his class. I was down the back. I was very athletic. I was very fit. I was very coordinated, which are all the wonderful things you need to be a step person.
Yep.
And basically after that, he just said, "Yeah, I think you'd make a great instructor." And I'm almost embarrassed to share what happened next, but I ended up in the group fitness manager's office, and she gave me a paper copy of choreography notes and a tape cassette. A cassette tape.
A cassette,
I know.
Yeah.
We're acting alarmed now, but at the time it was perfectly normal. She said, "This is what you need to do. You need to go and learn this."
Yep.
And funny. I remember thinking, "Oh my God, this pre-choreography is so boring." Who does this? Who does 16 counts of the same thing?
Yes.
And I actually really struggled coming from freelance, freestyles.
Yeah.
Sorry, I felt it was all the things that those of us that were in that transitional period experience. Oh, it's so boring. You're killing my creativity right now.
Yep.
But the reality was, all of the great freestyle instructors were pre-choreographed.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just had different formations.
Yes.
So, and we were all busy stealing all of their moves and all of their combinations and stuff. So,
yeah. No, I've had guests that I've spoken to that were from Sydney that would reminisce and tell me that they may teach on a Saturday morning, but there'd also be another 2 instructor classes in the afternoon that they'd also go to steal their moves. They'd go and do it and go, I'm just participating, but mentally be writing stuff down or be going, yeah, cool. And then the following weekend, that'd be in their routine because they'd seen it from someone else. And that's back in the early freestyle days. That's exactly what was happening. You go from club to club to club and follow whoever it was to get a new routine. And I can add that into what I'm doing. And yeah, but no, I can completely understand the foreignness that is pre-choreographed, but also I've got to do what? no, I want to put my flair on this. Where's me? Where's me? And especially I'd say, and chatting to Pete and also Mid, that the early days when that sort of came in, it was good but bad. And I say that good because it was something new coming through and it was starting to freshen up as things were taking a little bit of a plummet, depending on where in the world you were with group exercise. Yep. But also bad that all of a sudden well, hang on. What? Why? As you said, 16 counts of the same. 16 knee repeaters. What? Why am I?
Knee.
Yeah.
God. Killing me right now.
Yes.
And then I think and Pete, I know Pete and I have shared this conversation. And then all of a sudden, it gave us poetic license to. Oh shit! I don't actually have to worry about the music.
Yep.
I don't have to worry about the choreography. Some really awesome expert has taken care of that for me. Now I can add my flair.
Yeah. Yep.
And that was the beauty. That was the discovery. That was the nugget in the pile of horse shit. Yeah. That was like, it was like, oh yeah, cool. Okay, 3 minutes of you looking at me doing bicep curls. I can work with that. I'm gonna try really hard to contain it because it's pump and I have to stand still.
Yep.
But look at me.
Yep. Yeah, I can look. I reminisce and look back at when I started on 50 RPM. I mean, pump 56, I think it was, and I believe your track was bicep tracking that, and it was gonna make you sweat.
Dance now.
Yeah, gonna make you sweat, gonna make you move, and it, as you said, you're standing there, you're just doing pumps. But you made it entertaining. You had turned that into, that was, as you're saying, your creativity, your flair that you put on it that made that track so excellent in its way because, let's be realistic, you're standing there doing one. I stopped teaching pump after 6 months because I couldn't get anything out of the people in front of me. It's like, you've all got that deer in headlights face that's just staring at me. No. I can't. I can't. I didn't have that skill set in order to engage them in a different way. But I can totally get where flair and that type of pizzazz comes in to captivate the audience in front of you, and you've got to do something.
Yeah, and going back to my upbringing, like I said, Mum was a singer. There was always music, and theatrics were always welcomed. So lip syncing. Yep. I remember one time, I don't know if you remember, but there was a period when I think it was called Hooked on Classics, and it was kind of like symphony music, but brought back to a real funky beat. Yep. And that was kind of, and I used to get my grandmother's knitting needles and pretend that I was a conductor and have the whole house, rolling on the floor laughing. And, I soon discovered that I was quite a capable entertainer. So give me a 5-minute bicep track. Yeah. 100% you're going to get something. Don't know what it is yet. And I think that used to do Mike's head in because he'd be like, what the hell is she going to bring this time?
Oh, I love it. Thank you for everything you did too, by the way, because it's brilliant. Absolute brilliant.
Oh, he did. I can't remember what release it was, 53 maybe. And the bicep track was Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy.
Yes.
Dum da da dum da da dum da dum da da. Well, I convinced Mike that it would be super cool if we all wore cowboy hats. And Mike was Mike. He was like, nah, not doing it. And I geared Tommy up. I was like, Tommy, Coots and Nicholas. Yep. We're doing cowboy hats. You cannot let the song go and not wear a cowboy hat. Anyway, Mike at the last minute realised how cool we looked. Yeah. Picked the hat up, taught this hat with a cowboy hat on. Yeah. And then when we were doing the debrief, he was like, that's the most ridiculous thing you've ever made me do. I'm never going to do that again. I'm like, that shit went viral. Yes. I remember hearing a story of somewhere in America, only America, and I think in Texas, like Dallas, where they got a woman to actually ride a horse into the where they were having their quarterly workshop. I'm like, there you go.
That's fantastic.
Right.
That's connection.
Right. And I never would have got Mike on a horse, but,
Yep. Brilliant.
yeah, we were having some fun back then, that's for sure.
Yep. This is the Group X podcast. So STEP was really the first program, though, that you went into that was pre-choreographed as such. Yep.
Yes. Yes.
How different was STEP back then to what it is recent times?
Well, I think STEP, when it was created as a program through Les Mills, was sort of taking the best of the creative world, as in different types of moves, but giving it that beautiful Les Mills, you can do this, like there's a structure.
Yes.
So like track 1 is when we're going to go up and down. Track 2, we're going to start to mobilize around the step. Track 3, we're going to lift our heart rate, we're going to start to jump. Track 4, when I started, now there's a memory jog. It was actually, we had weights tracks in it.
Oh, wow.
So I think in track like 7 or something, it was like with hand weights.
Yeah. See, that's far too much coordination for me. I've shared this story before, but I fell over the step without risers, just the step, 5 minutes before the class started and twisted my ankle and never went back.
Oh, okay.
Coordination? Yeah, I can ride a bike. Yeah, that's easy. Yeah, just sitting there pedaling, all good. I got CX Works under my belt. I've done sprint and pump, obviously, as well. But yeah, when it came to that step, that thing.
The biggest barrier to step
is the step.
Is the step.
Yes.
People walk in the room and go, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And I even know, like, when I'm building my team and I've got steppers and they're like, jammers, and they're like, I think I'll do step, and they can't do it.
Yep.
The barrier is the step, and that's why I'm plugging the step instructors in the world.
Yep.
Step instructors are actually the most cleanest coaches, because you have to navigate someone on, over, around, and that requires really clear cueing, and then because it is that sort of add a little bit of you on
Flair.
top.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was what I loved about step the most.
I think if I ever did it again, I'd probably try and go to a class, but just not have a step. Just go, let's pretend that it's there. That's, that's like going back to the quick start or whatever we used to call it, where they come in and do 4 tracks. That's probably what I would look at doing and go, yep, cool, I'm here. Yep, let's
What's
give
the
this a shot.
easiest track for me to do? Maybe the one that's lying down. What track is that? I'll come back for that one, and you're lying on the step. That's cool. That's a step class.
That's meditation at the end. Yeah, good. And I can sleep. Yes, okay. Yeah.
I don't even want to lift my legs or my chest, so that's not core.
Brilliant.
Actually, my second program, here's what people may or may not know. My second Les Mills program was combat.
Now, I think I know that because I've seen images from Shannon Cleary from way, way, way back at North Sydney when I first started. Because you're on posters, the posters that they used to send around. But I think also because that was in the early days, I think there was, for some reason I remember seeing, were you a masterclass for combat?
I never taught a masterclass for combat on video, no. But I would have been probably in the audience because, Body Combat rolled off the back of Billy Blank's,
yes, Tybo.
Tybo.
Yeah.
And it was actually Mike McSweeney who was travelling in Argentina and saw at this fitness gig a couple called Natha and Gabby.
Yes.
And they were actually brought into New Zealand to give life to Body Combat.
Yep.
And so they brought their programming in. Of course, with all programming, it got Les Millsified, make it safe, make it doable. And they had a lot of flair, and it was perfect for the beginning of the program.
Yeah.
I think what Dan and Rach have done now to the intelligence and the essence of the program is just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I see combat now really strong in clubs. It's really simplified. It's ecstatically exciting because of the music.
Yep. Pardon me.
Yeah, but no, Natha and Gabby came to New Zealand to launch Body Combat 1, and several of us on the timetable were hand-picked. It was a very select crew, and we got invited to this private Body Combat 1 class.
Yep.
And then we got told 2 weeks later that you will be launching this, and
Excellent.
sweet. I was like, sweet as. I'm only a detective. I don't have much else going on in my life.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was like, it was so new. So Body Attack was established. I believe Body Balance was already established. So Combat was this new, wow.
Yep.
And RPM was already established. So the night we launched it, we had no comprehension. There were like 6 of us on stage. We were in Studio 2. Because at the time, the group fitness manager, Ruth Pitahi, she was like, well, how do we know how many people are even going to turn up?
So, yeah.
If anyone's even interested. So I think the class might have been like at 6:30 on a whatever night. And honestly, an hour before the class, the studio was full.
Oh, wow.
And if you know Les Mills Auckland City, there's a stairwell that sort of winds down the centre of the group fit tower, we call it. The people went down around the tower to the bottom, back over, if you've been to Les Mills Auckland City, back over the air bridge, back down into the main gym, and almost back to reception.
Lining up to get in.
Lining up to get in. Yeah.
Wow.
So, very last minute decision. It was like, oh my God, we can't get, because obviously kicking and punching, you can't have people close to each other. Like
all in brawl.
Someone's going to die tonight. So we literally Ruth said, okay, you guys go on stage. I'm going to cut it off here, but I'm going to say that you're going to do a second class. And so we were like, okay, cool.
Yes.
And literally we did back-to-back classes to 2 packed studios, and that was the beginning. That was the beginning of Combat. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. So right from the word go, did it have the sound effects in the music as well? So you knew from teaching,
pow,
and the bell and all that kind of
knock knock pow.
Yeah. I love that. I remember listening to some of the early stuff. It was like, that's cool, because as an instructor for something that was that new, it'd give you, oh, cool, I know this is coming up. Yeah, you know what's
ding,
there.
Ding.
Yeah. Change sides. Yeah.
Which ended up being 100% illegal.
Really?
I believe so.
From a music side of things?
From a music licensing perspective, I feel like those things were like, you can't do that to the soundtrack of the Titanic.
Yeah. You can, but legally you can't. Yeah.
But we're not. Celine is very upset.
Yeah.
She wants the bells out of her dings and dongs.
Yeah. So it was removed, yes.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think it was removed. God, that was such a different time for music licensing now. I probably can't speak truthfully, so I'll just... Right. That was not my area of expertise.
Yep. No, I think we've come a long way. It's even the program. Look at not that just that program, but all programs, how much they have evolved. As we're talking Combat, and you're saying now with Dan and Rach and where they're at with the program compared to the dings and bells and where it first came out. Not only that, RPM, you even look at CX. Core now, core. the evolution that it's gone through since the first one that came out. It's, I think, and I've said this a couple of times, every program has had to evolve, because if it didn't, we wouldn't be around. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if they stayed exactly the same, people get bored. Yeah, whatever. No, we can't do this. I mean, I know of a whole heap of instructors that are frustrated with the evolution, but at the same time, no one's ever going to be happy, are they? It's like trying to change something in a yoga studio.
Well, good luck with that. I mean, in my opinion and my experience, yogis are the most uptight people on the universe.
Yeah.
I mean, it sort of goes in waves, and as a Group X manager, I I embrace change so much more than I used to 10
Yeah.
years ago, you
Yeah.
know. Because like you say, to stay in the same place is not aspirational. It doesn't move me as a human.
Yep.
You know, when programs have significant shifts, like if they change a format or, you know, if they decide to take a slight left turn and go, let's try this, you know, there will be the odd few people that go, I want it the old way. I don't like it. I'm, you know, literally like 5 years old. I
Yep.
don't like it when she takes my toys.
Yeah.
And I've learned that those people, those noisy folk, are about the 5% of the
Yeah.
majority.
Yep.
80% of those people will be like,
Yeah.
that's different.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see the benefits of that.
Yep.
And maybe I do miss a little bit of that. And then there's sort of this sort of 10 to 15% in the middle that are like, no, I like it the old way, but I'm open. You know, the
Yes.
slow change, the slow change.
This, yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
they'll come around eventually.
Yeah.
And I guess the beauty of Les Mills is that the creative teams are constantly reviewing themselves.
Yeah.
They're
They know if something doesn't work. If they try and turn it left and, oh, hang on, crap, we've gone too far left, let's bring it back a bit, or let's go whatever. They're on their fingers on the pulse. They know what's got to be done, and they know whether they take on board feedback. That's you've got to. I think that's even as instructors these days, we've got to take on feedback in order to grow ourselves as instructors. If you're not,
That's
then
right.
you know what do they say? If you're not assessing, you're guessing. Yeah.
And, you know, my personal journey with body step and this concept of going too far, like Mark, he started, so he brought in this kind of step athletic as an alternative, right? And so all of a sudden, step went from very nice sort of easy knee lifts to jumpy knee lifts to fucking masses of plyometrics.
Yep.
Like it was just, my body actually just went, actually, that's not happening.
Yep.
So I remember sort of towards the end of my filming career, I'd be like, okay, I'm on options. I'm taking the stepping options.
Yeah.
Homie don't plyo. And that was, you know, and he did it once, and then he did it again. He went harder and again, and then the feedback came back. It's not body step anymore. You need to stop.
Yep.
Right, and so he dialed it back in.
Yep.
And that was and then gave options to make sure that all the, you know, all us old housewives, were still able to enjoy this, you know, this beautiful program.
Yeah, I love it. So when you did step, you did combat. Were you a trainer back then, or predominantly just an instructor and presenter for programs, or were you training, module training, that kind of thing as well?
Yes, I think my first step. So I started teaching, and then, you know, was the generation when there were always quarterly workshops, and I got asked to be a body step quarterly workshop presenter. Did that, and then there were. I didn't do a step module. I didn't do a combat module.
Yep.
So there were no modules back in those days as such.
Yep.
I feel like there was a pump module, but, you know, everything else was kind of, no, because step was way before pump. So then, yes, they did start to recruit, and I went on my trainer boot camp. I still remember with Tracy Minnick in Wellington.
Yep.
And started doing modules on the weekend. And, you know, what I've learned in my experience is that when you have a skill, the minute you start teaching that skill to someone else is when you become a master.
Yep.
So I started as a step trainer, and then I did a couple of combat modules, I suppose, and then I started to have a profile at Auckland City. You know, I was like, oh, this is Susan. I was a Tolly back then. You know, Susan Tolly, she does this and does this, and I think one pivotal year, I got an award for building the most numbers. You know, I was really at the ace of my game. And then I got shoulder tapped for she'd be good for pump. And I was like, holy Jesus, this pump's like, I'm not a pumper. I don't stand still. I'm doing chasse around a step. Like, there's no way you're going to get me to stand still.
Yeah.
And anyway, I just saw what this phenomenon was at Auckland City, and I thought, I need to get myself into pump. And I was too terrified to go through Auckland City. So I actually went through module. I was on release 50.
Yep.
Went through with Mark Sinclair, actually. We were on the same module. And we and I started teaching pump not at Auckland City. I was far away. I went to Takapuna. I was like, at least if I'm really bad over there, not anyone will see me and go, do not use her for pump at all. Just like, hell no. Yeah. And the first pump class I taught by myself, I put the bar down in the squat track 3 times. I got confused with the back track. So I was offloading bars, shaking.
Yeah.
I was weak as hell. And
I love that.
it was a hot mess. And and then I found after 12 months, I kind of embedded myself into the program.
Found your groove.
Found my groove. Yeah. Sort of could stand strong, still be me, but sort of not look like a twat.
This is the Group X podcast.
And then Mick Sweeney sort of saw me. I think they were looking, prior to me being on masterclasses, the body image of the pump team was very, very athletic, very lean, very muscular. And, I actually spoke to Mike a few months ago, and he said, one of the things I wanted to achieve was to bring a body on stage that was more accessible, that was more believable. He said, but what I didn't account for was that you would bring so much personality.
That is so nice to hear.
It was.
That's yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see the emotion in you by talking about that, and that's bloody awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a pivotal moment in your career, but also for the program as well. Yeah. That he saw something and went, you know what? Yeah, this is what it needs to be. And I think the let me ask you this question then. How do you feel when you say that back?
I think the emotion that I'm feeling now is that someone, like you say, saw something in me that I didn't see, gave me an opportunity. I don't think he had a whole lot of support around that. I think there were people sort of in the conversation going, nah, she hasn't got it. And then I think the emotion for me was like, I think the world knows that now that I do got it.
Yeah.
And I didn't just got it a little bit, I brought people into pump as a role model for the fact that you don't need to be super muscly, you don't need to be lean, just feel good in your body, feel how strong you can feel. Let's sing some tunes, let's do some reps, and he kind of gifted that to me.
Yeah.
He gifted that journey, and I took it both horns and went, I'm on this mother.
Yep.
And
let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And I have a very incredible career, supported by Les Mills International. That was just like, it feels this like incredible wave of, I just rode it.
Yeah.
I just rode it.
In my opinion, you owned it. Yeah. Oh. And for what my opinion's worth, there may be people out there going, oh, Tone, shut up. You talk too much. But I will honestly say, and I'm not just saying it because I'm sitting in front of you talking to you now, you had a presence on screen in front of us that, as you just said, made us feel that. Mm. We were part of it. Yeah. We were instructors that were learning from you, and it was okay to be us. Okay to be who you are. You didn't have to have the six pack or ripped to shred and have no ounce of fat on you. You know what? You can be a little bit of a chub or whatever. You know, in my case, anyway, no one else's. But it's okay to be you when you're doing it. But you owned it, as in it was classy, it was professional, it was everything it needed to be. No one was looking the fact that you weren't ripped. I can't, I'll be honest with you, I can't even, you said it, but I was like, you sorry, what? Hello now?
I'll never forget my first video opportunity, and it was actually Mike, myself, and Michelle Bridges, and I remember we were waiting for Mish to turn up, and he said to me, "You're going to wish you never ate all those pies when she walks in." I was like, "You bloody shit!" And of course, Michelle walked in completely ripped up. You know, like I was just like, "Oh," and you know, we wore bikinis basically, and I was just like, "Okay, well." I'm never going to be that, but I'm okay with not being that because, you know, I get to eat the occasional pie. And that makes me happy. Yeah. And if I turned into anything else, my family would have called it. Yeah. They would have said, "Who are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is not who you are to us." Yeah. And in the end, Tony, I didn't need to. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't need to. It was I think, you know, Mike references the fact that, you know, I was never the strongest. I was never the leanest. I was, you know, probably sang in tune 50% of the time. But I was a combination of things. And the fact that I, you know, was given license to just be me.
So many.
I loved it.
So many people connected with you. So many. You know, the instructors that I know here in Australia, here in Sydney, or, you know, let's say Australia from when I've travelled around with Les Mills here, people idolise you, people look up to you, people respect you for you. Yeah. As I said before, you made people connect with everything you were saying. You know, I remember walking into a club in Newcastle here in New South Wales when I was account manager for Les Mills Asia Pacific, and walked in and I saw an instructor teaching a class that was verbatim. Yeah. And it, I'm going to say this, I don't know who the instructor was, and if they listen, good, if they don't, whatever. It was said in a foreign language because it was a pump track and it was a squat track, and I cannot remember what release it was, but the guy that was up on stage teaching wasn't Aussie, wasn't from NZ. He was from somewhere else overseas, and he had a moment of connecting to whichever of his crew had come to do filming. Yeah, and so said something in his language. And this instructor had said something to her class in whatever language it was, or she tried to, you know, and I was like, oh no, please. There's connecting with what you guys as master trainers and international, you know, were coaching us, but at the same time, that's going too far. That's not needed. That's pull it right back. Just be you, have the flair, be you, and be 100% comfortable in what you're doing. But please don't regurgitate word for word, because let's be honest, there's only one Susan.
Yes, well, I can add to that because when Steve and Grace and I went to live in San Francisco, Grace was 4, so it was probably about 2012. That's when the advanced instructor modules were. Yeah. And so the best bang for everybody's buck really was to put me on the road and go and do these one-day advanced instructor modules, right? And maybe the quarterly workshop was the day after. And so if you remember the aims, you know, you got up, you taught a track, you got feedback, and we kind of did some stuff at a physical level. And the number of times I would go, why does that feel so familiar? Yeah. Wait, she's being me.
Yeah.
And I would actually say, because I'm me, I'd be like, okay, that was creepy.
Yeah.
I've just had my first sort of like stalking creepy situation.
Yep.
Can you please be you?
Yep.
And give people, bless the intention.
Yeah.
The intention was to be great,
Yes.
to be good.
Yep.
However, the murky stuff is like, well, great is you.
Yeah.
You be you.
Yes.
Come into you, and just because I tap my foot in a country and western, or I can do the worm, or I can do some break dancing, like that doesn't have to be your game.
Yep.
Like you do you. Let me do me.
I remember because 50, as I said, 56 was my track, and I got biceps and shoulders. Yeah, and Mike. Because it was shoulder raises and then down on doing push-ups across with the riser. And I just remember Andrew Taylor, who was my initial module trainer, say to me, stop trying to be Mike. Because I did exactly that, because I was like, this is what I need to do. And, his voice was like, right, deeper, harder. And so I'd say the exact same thing. And then Andrew said to me, dude, no, that's not you. Just be you. Yeah. Don't be a dick. Just be Tone. Get it across how you need to get it across. And back then, because I was so new, I was excited. I was like, oh, yeah, this is what I've got to do. But it wasn't until later on that I found, as we're saying, found my own feet, found my own rhythm, found my sarcasm and my cheek and my way of connecting with the members. That's when the members really started to enjoy my classes more, because that was I hate this word authenticity, but that was when the authentic Tone came out. Yeah. And there was more connection with what was going on, because they were like, yeah, that's you. Yeah, we know this program. We know what you're doing. It's safe, effective, but you've got you and the flair that we've brought into the program itself.
Yeah. When I was traveling around the world, the number of times, if I had $1, or these days with inflation, if I had $15 for every time someone had said to me, oh my gosh, you're exactly like you are on the videos. And I'm like, I could be someone else.
Who do you want me to be?
I only know this.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's me. And so I think that was what helped me connect to people, because they realised that when they met me, and normally if they met me at a quarterly workshop anywhere in the world, I was stealing their lunch.
Yep.
I'm internationally known for, she's going to rock up to this table. She's going to be super charming, Susan. We love you, we love you, we love you. I'm like, cool, what have you got to eat?
I need some of that.
And bless these American women who would like pack a lunch, because quarterly workshops went on, for hours and hours, and people were doing like 12 classes, and they'd have, would you like this, or would you like this, or would you like this? I'm like, yep, all of those. Yeah. And can we get you anything else? And I'd be like, no, that would be rude. But if there's a free Gatorade around anywhere, I'm up for that as well.
One. Yeah. Fantastic.
And so I think something that I bring that is really me is I'm really good at disarming people.
Yep.
I'm just a girl from fucking West Auckland.
Yeah.
That's just who I am, and I never lost that.
Yep.
In all of it.
I love hearing that, and I say that because it's unique, but it's so refreshing. Yeah, and I get that from talking to you as well. An hour ago, you and I had really no idea who each other were. I love the fact that I've got to chat to you, and what I'll tell everyone that's listening, what you see, guys, on DVDs, on that kind of stuff, is exactly the person I'm talking to right here, and I'm sure they can hear that in this as well, that you're not a show pony. You're not no one. You're just being you, and that's so nice to know that we had someone in the position you were in, just being you, sharing with us, and we were able to connect and go, yeah, sweet, thanks, we love that. Let's go do that. Let's do it.
Beaut, mate.
Yeah.
Beauty, mate. Fair crack of the whip. She's one of us.
Yeah, that was a good Aussie. I like that. Yeah, I'll give you points for that one.
Thank you. I could have added a little more E.
Yeah.
I used to give Michelle Bridges shit, hey, because I'm like, how many syllables in the word yeah? And she'd go, 1. And I'd be like, then why do you go, oh, yeah?
This is the Group X podcast. So I want to ask you a couple of questions about filming, if that's
Sure.
okay.
Yeah.
Leading up to filming, you shit yourself? Or you're all cool? You're cool as a cucumber?
Filming weeks in the beginning were quite stressful and playful.
Yep.
So Mike was the maestro. There was no such thing as program coaches, or it was very much a direct line from Mike to the performance.
Yeah.
And you know, I tell people the story of, you know, he was quite often coaching me on stage, on film, at the same time, like underneath his glove,
Yeah.
going, "You're killing my song.
Yeah.
Rev it up." There were a couple of other really funny things, like he would have us teaching 2 classes a day for the week up to it, and you know we'd end up broken, but you know we'd teach, we'd sit down and do some feedback, right? And during feedback, he used to say to me, "Don't say that. That's stupid. That cute. Don't. Nah.
No, not that. No.
Too clever. Don't say that. Nah. Don't say that. Wrong. Don't say that. Nah." I'd be like, "Oh shit. Okay." Sometimes I would script this beautiful introduction to the track, and he'd just push play. "Hey guys, welcome to the play," and I'd be like, "Oh, okay. We'll pick up your bars, I suppose.
Yeah,
let's get going." But the weeks where he used to like say to me, "Nah, don't teach that. Don't say that. Don't say that," and then that little shit would use those cues on the night in the warm up, and I'd be like, "You're kidding me." I'd spend painless hours. So what I used, I like words. So I used to, you know, and there's only so many times you can say we're going to get strong. So I used to travel around with my thesaurus, right, and find what's another way of, you know, accessing this feeling, but with a different word. And I'd get really creative, and you know, some of them were great, some of them were stupid, but I would spend hours doing this, and then that little shit used to steal it in the warm up. And I'd be like, and he'd just look over at me and give me the eyebrows, like, you know, "Yes, sis, got it. That was pretty cool." And afterwards, I'd be seething. So in the end, I used to not say my good cues. Like I'd save my little nuggets. Right. Save them up my sleeve. Then on the night, I'd drop them, and I'd look at him and give him the eyebrows. Like, like that one. Follow that. And so it became a bit of a game on stage. But I think, you know, it was a different time. It was a different energy. It was a different production. And so that experience was kind of lots of fun. I think that, you know, what they're producing now is so professional. It's so professional.
If anyone gets the opportunity to go back and have a look at some of the early stuff, I remember a VHS, and it wasn't, I did RPM 23, but it wasn't even an RPM, it was an attack that I first saw, and it had Les Mills World of Fitness and a globe on a brick wall behind. Or maybe it was Pump. I can't remember now. I'm getting confused. But it was just done with like a handy cam at the back of the room. Yeah, there wasn't different angles or anything like that. It was raw. This is where we come from. This is what we're doing, and get on with it. And now there's the camera angles through the wazoo, and the coaching is so unique and different to what we were going through.
And intelligent, and we were playing on a different field. You know, I think during my time we might have had 2 cameras, so we had a front camera and a side camera, and you know, Mike was also trying to direct at the same time, and he'd be going, "Hey Frankie, side camera," you know, while his biceps are bulging out, and we'd all just be like, "Oh, what a dude," you know, "Frankie, front shot," and it's sort of like, what are you doing?
I've got to get him on for a chat if I can. I've got to try and reach out properly and see if you'll come on and come and have a chat with me. I'd love to get some stories from him as well. I think it'd be fantastic.
He's, you know, I think he's moved on a lot, and I don't know if he would come back into that space. But certainly when we get together, and it wasn't that long ago that we all got together, the stories start, you know. start coming out. But we're older, we've all got children, and it's like, we're having different conversations now,
Yes. Yeah, totally.
But, certainly I've got a couple of epic
Yep.
film grabs, because they used to film everything, right?
Yep.
And then they would take everything into the filming suite and edit it up. So we always knew that if there was a blooper of some sort that, it would get cut out, and there's this famous Body Pump 52, I think, and it was me, Mac, and Tommy Koutsanikolas. Go hard Aussie boy, Greek Aussie boy. Well, Mike had given him the runaround from day one, basically, Tommy was staying in a hotel right around the corner from LMI, like literally 150 metres.
Yep.
And Mike had said to him, get in a taxi, and I'll meet you at LMI, right? So Tommy calls a taxi. The taxi driver goes, hell no, I'm not, and now Tommy's stressed. It's not even day one. By the time day 7 and filming came around, well, we'd convinced Tommy to wear a tourniquet on his arm, which was a wristband, so he blew his forearm out in the backtrack. He'd had that many, Powerades, his tongue was blue. I'd convinced him that, it was okay, he should be wearing gold eyeshadow, so you can actually see that on the video. And, we just had the most fun.
Yep.
It was fun. And so I guess, building team camaraderie, even though these days I don't think that would be acceptable in these days. But in my generation and me coming through, that was considered fun. Light ribbing, and I think Mike even hid his shoes or his shorts or something. So it was just
It's what it was. It was a whole lot of fun, and they're memories that you're going to have for absolutely ever. That no one can ever take from you. That's perfect. Hey, have you got a favourite release on everything that you've done, whether filming or not filming or anything like that? Is there something through your career and all programs you've done where you go, you know what, that release, that's it. That's the one that is my dead set.
I think it is release 56. I think I was living in America.
For everyone playing at home, this is because Susan and I have said this earlier, and she agreed to say that was 56 because it was my training release. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Okay, well, there we go.
Yeah.
You came at the perfect time.
Yes, I did. Yes.
So my first release was 48. So I'd done it a few times. I didn't have the stage anxiety.
Yep.
And I was living in America. I'd been, on the road doing Pump, and Mike had been over with us, and we had all been touring, and I was really entrenched in everything Les Mills. And that day of filming, I basically had to say goodbye to my grandfather, and because I knew I was going back to America the following day, and I was sad. I was sort of like emotional, raw. Wasn't sure how it was going to go, and I remember sitting in the car park going, just do your shit, Susan, just let it be what it's going to be. And out of that moment came probably my best, most memorable presentation. Okay, one of two, I've got two.
Yep.
That one, and I remember Kylie Gates was in the room down the back, and I remember she came up to me and she said, you absolutely smashed that track. And, I think Luis was the other presenter, friend from Portugal. So it was just, people say, oh, I'm having a hard day, I'm going to teach shit. But actually, when you're having a hard day, that's the real shit.
Yeah. Isn't it what? Yes.
That's actually when you just go, this is all I've got.
Yeah.
This is all I am. This is all I've got. And I'll do my best, and that's going to be my best.
Yeah. It's raw from you, but when they don't know what's going on, all they're seeing is you being you, and I think that's when the true, 100% true you comes out. When you're going through your toughest. I remember in North Sydney, I'd broken up with my girlfriend at the time and had to get on a bike like 2 hours later and teach. I was a freaking mess, but I just pulled it together. I just managed I just remember in track 6, I can't remember what release it was, but I just shut up, and because I remember Mike telling me to shut up and don't say anything when he come over, and I did. He shadowed me. He team talked with me, and that was the only feedback he gave me, which I loved. But I just remember set it up, shut up, and I had a moment of sitting there in front of 40-something people and just going, "Wow, I'm raw. I wonder if they can see what's going on here." But none of them did. None of them would have had a bloody clue. But it was at the end, people going, "Wow, that was really powerful. Thank you." It's like some of the best performances, as you said, can be done when you're having the shittest of shit moments, dealing with a whole lot of stuff that you just, it's like autopilot, but it's not, because it's autopilot and you know what you've got to get done, but you just
are present.
Yeah.
It's sort of like just you come into the presence of it. That's my experience. And I when I'm coaching my instructors, I'm constantly reminding them, just remember that everyone in that room is possibly going through something.
Yeah. Yep.
And you are the lifeline.
Yeah.
You know, your job is to encourage and embrace and make people feel good, and it's inclusive, and you know, that's life as an instructor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, my second favorite.
Yep.
My second most standout, and probably now that I think about it, it has to be the most important, or the most memorable, was when I was pregnant with Grace. We had a global summit in Auckland, and I don't even know what release number it was, probably 66. And, you know, I'd been traveling, we were living in Holland, so we were doing lots of traveling around Europe. I basically was best friends with every international trainer in the world. You know, they knew me as this person, then they knew that I was, you know, pregnant, I was about to have a baby, and we all met, and it's like all of my friends met in Auckland.
Yeah.
And I got to show everyone, well, I didn't, I mean, Philip and Jackie were the hosts.
Yep.
But we brought all these people to New Zealand. We entrenched them in New Zealand culture. We showed them our favourite places. We, you know, and I had taught the lunge track, which was Show Me Heaven.
Yep.
And this particular track started in a hip flexor stretch, both sides. And it's something about... And I told everyone that I was calling Grace Grace, so there was no, you know, there was no secrets or surprises or whatever. But there's something at the beginning of that track that I hadn't planned. It was completely organic. Oh, it goes, "Hey, baby."
Yep.
I pointed to my belly and
Yep.
I said, "That's what I'm going to be saying in about, oh, I'll cry. That's what I'm going to be saying in about 4 weeks." And the room just exploded.
Yep.
Like, yay,
Yeah.
you know. And I think there is a lyric in the song about Grace, and I just embraced my friends, my body, my baby, my husband, my whole life just came together in that one moment. And
You were where you needed to be right there and then.
yeah, with all my friends and you know, on stage. And I have to shout out Jackie Mills, because she, I mean, when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, that's it, my career's over. There's no one wants to see a big, you know, heffalumper in my world. No one wants to see a big heffalumper lugging around on stage. And she looked at me and she said, "No, you are going to show the world that it is very okay to be pregnant and to do exercise."
Yep.
And so she was actually my backbone through that. And, you know, I still carry that inside of me now. Her empowering me as a pregnant woman. It's not some sort of disability or hold you back situation. You know, I had life inside of me. But yeah, that particular moment just, and I think they used to use that video for a creating magic video.
Yep.
If you want to know how to create magic or fitness magic or whatever we call it these days, performance, that's how you do it.
Thank you for sharing that. That's really powerful, and I appreciate your rawness and honesty with that. That is thanks. Thanks so much.
It's my pleasure. Those that know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just take a minute.
Sure.
Sorry, you've got me going without me
such was the moment.
Yeah.
Such was the
I
moment.
look. Oh, thank you, like really, for sharing with me right now, because you've touched something in me that being a dad. This isn't going in, by the way. This will be edited out.
I think it should go in, Tony. I think that's you showing your vulnerable side.
I don't think I'm ready for that yet. I told you this is a face for radio.
Okay.
We'll
I'm not
see.
talking about pictures, but, I then proceeded to, so Grace was born in Holland, and we didn't come back to New Zealand until she was like 8 months old, I think. I proceeded to, in those 8 months, drag my baby around all of these gigs, because I was pre-booked for everything, right? Super Saturday, London gigs, and I got to go out with her.
Yep.
And show women, particularly in Holland, like in Holland, once you get pregnant, you sit down and you just turn into they don't encourage exercise. It's quite frowned upon. And so, I remember my midwife calling in the other midwives going, look at this. It's pregnant and it's fit and healthy. What the hell? And it was just bizarre.
Sorry. You painted a picture that in my head. It was just, yeah. This is foreign. What? Look at this.
Look at this specimen.
Yeah.
There's going to be something wrong with that baby for sure. And, I was lucky to have had incredible role model mothers, Jackie, Maureen Baker, Lisa Osborne, Emma Barry, Pete's wife Yvette, all the Tracy Nuku, all these incredible women who just, being pregnant was just part of, it wasn't a big deal. So, Grace got handed off the side of stages many times as a baby. Like, mummy's got to go to work. Goodbye, I'm going to go teach a train. And dragged through airports. But, she's okay.
Yeah. This is the Group X podcast. So what are you doing now?
I am still the group fitness manager at Les Mills. That's my main hustle.
Yes.
It takes up most of my time. I really feel like it's a different role than it was 5 years ago.
Yes.
And that's okay. I've kind of evolved with what everyone's been through, and I really felt like I needed to be kind of an even keel.
Yep.
While we were sort of navigating all of that crazy stuff for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I still teach classes, so I've got a couple of cycle classes. I teach a couple of balance classes. Got a bit of a dicky knee, and so that prevents me from pumps just a little bit too sort of
too full.
Too full on. And then I've also got I'm celebrant, so I marry people.
Yes,
and
saw that on social media. Yeah.
Help people pass their loved ones on to the next world, and also I do some leadership facilitation as well.
Yes.
And I'm doing some coaching as well. So I did say to my daughter the other day, I'm working 5 jobs. You need to give me a little bit of respect.
Yeah.
Like if I'm asleep on the couch, it's not because I'm just asleep on the couch. I'm quite tired.
Yeah.
But I feel like I will always love, like Mid, I will always love Les Mills.
Yeah.
Les Mills will always be a part of my life. I will probably teach until I don't have a pulse.
Yep.
And I'm also open to that there's another step for me. There's another place for me in the future. I'm not sure what that is yet.
Yeah.
And but sort of leadership, well-being is kind of what's floating up when I'm sitting in reflection.
Cool. So your Group X management is at Auckland, did you say?
Yes.
Auckland City.
Auckland.
So
Auckland City.
that's Mecca. Yeah, that's the big club.
That's it. That's home, baby.
So how many? Are you allowed to talk about this for starters? I should ask that question.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh,
how many classes do you guys run at Auckland City per week?
Oh my goodness, we are in such a state of flux. I don't actually know that I could give you the answer.
Yep.
I could certainly find out and let you know.
Yep.
Pre-COVID, I think we were somewhere around 350,
Whoa.
360 classes a week. We've got 6 studios, so I'm not the only group fitness manager. We've got 2 group fitness managers. There's me, and then there's Natasha Vincent. So Tash manages the ceremony, the conquer, and the grip.
Yep.
And then I kind of have the heritage stuff and also any Gen Fit programs that are coming through.
Yep.
But we work as a team. You know, she has this beautiful way of seeing things from a different generation.
Yeah. Yep.
And then I also assist her from the other end of the age scope, you know, and experience scope. Yeah, we work really well as a team, so it's not all on me. Like, I'm not holding the building up.
Yeah.
Tash and I are.
Yeah. We'll let your club manager know that as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right. She would think I would say nothing less.
Yeah.
Hey, Michelle.
Brilliant. Oh, I love that. What would you say is the hardest part of your role as a Group X manager? Or maybe not hardest, but the most challenging.
Well, it's interesting. If you'd asked me that sort of 3 years ago, it might be quite a different response. But due to everything that's had to happen, I'm a lot more in the paperwork.
Yep.
And doing the detail and doing the wages. And I know I had a luxurious start where I actually had an assistant that did all of that for me, like a coordinator. So she did the wages, she did the covers, she did that. But, you know, we have re-geared that now group fitness managers' roles cover that stuff.
Yep.
And so that's been a bit of a journey. Is it hard? It's not hard. It's just different.
Yes.
You know, I'm living into my superpower when I'm dealing with people. I'm not living in my superpower in a spreadsheet.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So,
I understand that. I have my skill set, which is talking to people and being in front of people and presenting, doing that kind of stuff. I don't get me wrong, I love getting my head into a spreadsheet. I love doing all that kind of stuff. But where I excel is when I'm face to face with someone, and that's where I'm most comfortable. And I think it's a different skill set. Yeah, when you need to be in front of someone, because you've got to be on, you've got to be quick thinking, you've got to be there the whole time. Sitting back and having those admin days, now I get that they need to be done. They bore the shit out of me, but I get that they've got to be done because they're vital parts of what you've got to do with anything. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that, because I suppose with where the Group X podcast and where groupx.com.au is going for me here in Australia, I'm looking to get group exercise spoken about more often. So we can lift the image or stigma around group exercise here in Australia. There's a lot of clubs that don't give it the attention that it deserves. It's given attention that, yes, it's over there. It's still seen heavily as a cost centre and not a revenue stream for a lot of businesses here. A lot of businesses will focus more on the PT side of things or revenue they can get through that, because they see that as a figure. What they don't see is that, you know, there's 400 members that have joined just to do group exercise. You know, let's have a look at what that revenue stream is for those 400 people and see where that part of the business goes. So, I
mean, we are blessed because our fearless leader, Philip Mills and Jackie Mills, they know the numbers.
Yes.
They do the data.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
currently, I just did the books yesterday. Last week, in 1 week, the percentage of attendance to group fitness, the attendance to group fitness as a percentage of total attendance was 60.2%.
Wow.
So 60% of the people that come in our building are going to
group
classes.
exercise. Yeah.
And we've got one studio that's not counting classes at the moment, the Grit Studio. So,
wow.
I mean, I think that's where, if you want to start people talking about, okay, this is what your attendance is, you need to start presenting that sort of data.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and that means you've got to have a way to count your classes. You've got to have a way to, what's the cost per head? You know, this instructor's getting paid this much. You know, if I took my highest top person, and I walked in the room and I was like, there's 7 people here.
Yeah.
Like, that's bullshit from
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
our P&L. So I
Yes.
think you have to take group fitness out and go, okay, what is the data? What is
Yeah.
your current club attendance? And this is where Steve Renata, who's my best friend, was always that guy. He was always about the data, and this is what will drive your membership base. This is what will retain your membership. Yeah, I used to avoid numbers like the plague, but you know, they speak
Yeah.
the truth.
Yep. Yep. I think the some clubs will hate me for saying this, don't really care, tough shit, deal with it. That a lot of them record numbers but don't do anything with it. They're left on a number sheet and just get filed in a lever arch folder somewhere, and they don't look at it. And then they're making decisions based on emotion rather than fact. And that's where we're here in Australia. And you know, if I'm wrong, please, anyone reach out and let me know. I'm happy to be proved wrong. That when a club is struggling, it's because they're not looking at the attendance properly. They're not looking at what's going on in their club, and they're just focused on, oh, that's too expensive. No, we need to get rid of it. There's ways and ways to fix things. You know, if Group X is looked at properly and focused on properly, you can fix what's happening in there. It is your biggest retention tool, you know. And that's not me just from years of Les Mills stuff. That's just common sense. You know, if your Group X instructors are on point, the classes are going to have people in them. Attendance is going to be up. If attendance is up and those people are loving the classes, they're going to be telling more people, but more people are going to become the classes.
It's also a food chain thing, you know, like if you pay your instructors well enough that they're not going, I'm getting paid shit, and so I'm going to do a shit job. You take the pay off the table. So at Les Mills in Auckland City, and what we're trying to achieve nationally is that all group fitness instructors get paid this much, except for those people who are like blowing it out of the park. They get somewhere in that scale. But then there's no discussion around, oh, I'm going to give you a 50-cent pay rise. You get $2 more than this person. You get $5. You've been here a long time, so I'm going to give you a pay rise, even though you're a real shit instructor. Like, I think you got to get your pay right, and you need to be really transparent about that. At Les Mills in Auckland City now, I'd say probably 90% of our instructors are all getting the same rate, same hourly rate.
I like hearing that. I think there's a big discrepancy here in Australia. There are still some people getting paid what they were being paid 15, 20 years ago, and nothing has changed. They've been expecting to do a lot more, especially now since what we went through in the last 3 years. They're expected to do a lot more but don't want to for the same amount of money. They're like, well, if you want me to do more, then I'm going to need to be paid more. And I think there's a big, you know, and I suppose in a way I get it. You know, there's regional clubs which don't have as many members as city clubs. So a regional club might not be able to afford paying X, they might have to pay Y, you know, and that's, I get that. And I think there's some clubs that don't like the discussion around pay because they're like, well, we can't afford that. If you start talking like that, you know, my instructors are going to get the shits because they're not getting paid the same as what someone else is. I think it's not so much, and I'd say it's probably the same in New Zealand as well. Your club versus a community club or a normal gym down the road that's not a Les Mills gym, those guys wouldn't be paid the same. At that gym, they're paid for what they can be afford to be paid at that gym, and it's just got to be a level that club is comfortable with, but also the instructor's comfortable with, but sees value in what they're getting paid to do it.
I think that's what it comes down to, is sort of like, I had a train of thought and it's gone now, but is, you know, that's what it was. It was the expectation. So if you come into Auckland City, I expect that you're delivering an Auckland City level. And so I would imagine, I don't actually know what people get paid at other clubs, but I would say that we pay slightly more. But what's been really interesting for us in the last 3 years is that our regional clubs are doing really well because people weren't coming into the city. And so all of our inner city clubs took a hit, right? And all our regional clubs are like, well, we've got people left, right and centre where we never had them before. So, you know, I think it's the ability to constantly observe, acknowledge, record, look at the data. What time of the day are people coming into the gym? Okay, so don't put a class on at 4 o'clock. No one's here at 4 o'clock.
Yes.
And yes, okay, 5 years ago, that was the busiest class on the timetable.
Yeah.
No one is coming to that class.
Yeah.
So adjust.
Change.
And, we're constantly sort of challenging ourselves as, if you'd said to me, put on a 3:30 sprint class 5 years ago, I'd have said, you're fucking laughing, mate.
Yeah.
There's no one going to turn up.
Yeah.
And yet we've got 3:30 sprint classes, virtual admittedly,
Yeah.
that have got up to 15 to 20 people in them.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
get out.
Yeah.
Step back and kiss myself, I
Yeah.
say sometimes. I was like, I never would have thought this was happening ever.
This is the Group X podcast. That's gold, though. That's listening to your members. That's also taking into consideration your attendance of people walking into the gym and seeing when they're coming in. All that stuff you need to be aware of. You need to be looking at it to make sure you're timetabling correctly. Back at North Sydney, I'll be honest, my PT session started at 3:15 in the afternoon because I had school teachers. Right. There was a whole group of people from 3:30 on that came in. There probably wasn't enough to put classes on, but there was enough people in there for you to be having PT, or the PTs are all busy with 1, 2 people, whatever it may be. The classes started at around 5:20 because we knew that's when the bulk of traffic would come through. Clubs that are still now trying to push classes at 5:05. Hang on a second. You're not in an area where people can actually drive from where they work to your gym for a why are you putting on a 5:05 class and then whinging that no one's coming? Your 6 o'clock class, change those time slots. Look at 5:30, look at 5:25, look at 5:26. It doesn't matter what time it is, it's just a bloody time. But, look at when traffic's coming through your gym and timetable correctly.
Well, that's right. And then depending on the software that you're using, like literally, I can pull up on any day how many people are in the gym.
Yeah.
And you can't argue with the data.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? And so all decision making around, even at the other end of the scale, like the poor performing classes, sorry, mate, you've had like less than 10 people in your class for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That becomes an easy conversation because that's a shit experience.
Yeah. Yes.
I remember when I first started and I was teaching to 3 people, I did not enjoy that experience.
It's not enjoyable for you as an instructor, but not them as a participant. I remember sometimes back in the day, I'd grab them and say, righto, we're not doing this. Let's go and do a PT session. Let's do one-on-one because you're going to get more out of that than me in a class yelling and screaming at you, running through this. Let's go and let me correct you and do stuff out there better. You're going to get more from this. And let's do it. I'm not going to charge you. Come on. You came in here. You're here. Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So
that's called pivoting.
Pivot.
By the way.
Love that.
You just pivoted.
Yeah, I did.
By the way.
Yeah. What bit of advice would you give to an instructor that's listening that might want to improve what they're currently doing? If they come to you and said, "Hey, I want to do something. I want to improve on this. I want to be a bit better." What advice would you give them?
Yeah. Want to be better. That's quite a wide scope. The first place I go these days with people is, why are you doing what you're doing?
Yep.
What is it that you're getting out of it? And if people don't know that, that's the place to start.
Yep.
Because are you even in the right place?
Yeah. No, I like that. It's so the right answer, isn't it? It's why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah. What gets you out of bed?
Yeah.
It's a pretty vulnerable place standing in front of a group full of people and, sharing a bit of who you are and, trying to motivate. And so if that's not your bag, and that also, if you're a current instructor and you're thinking about taking on another program, my question is always, do you love that program?
Yeah.
Or are you doing that program to serve another? Because, the research will tell us that if you don't love what you do, it won't be there for a long time. Yeah. It's a short-term fix to something that you're trying to achieve. And, so, I'm living in a world of, deeper sort of personal work now. So I've always come back to what's going on, what's going on for you while you're teaching. What are you experiencing? What do you think that projects to the members? You know, because it has to be three parts. You have to have some self-serving out of teaching.
Yeah. Yes,
right?
you do.
You commit to your exercise, you get paid for it, you don't have to pay a gym membership, you get to stand in front of people and say cool shit. You know, there has to be a benefit for the members as well. You know,
Yeah.
they have to get something from you. But then you have to tap into your deeper kind of purpose. What do I want? What, like you said to me, you know, you've left a pretty huge legacy. I don't know if I would have had a self-awareness around that. I was just doing what I was doing, but I think you know when you're doing what you're not meant to be doing.
Yes. Yeah. If you have the self-awareness, yes.
If you're prepared to pause and stop and go, why am I so antsy when I go to work? Why am I paying out on the people that I manage? Why am I a not wonderful partner to be around? You know, why am I being really short with my child or children? What, you know, and if you've got those indicators happening around you, then I would say get some help. Be completely, these two words go together for me, brave and vulnerable.
Yeah.
And just reflect. You know, what do you do? What do you want to achieve? What I have noticed, and you know, I guess I'm lucky. I've had my amazing career at the top. I see the young ones. They come in. They automatically want to be on a DVD. Yeah, I want to be on a DVD. When I'm coaching them, I'm like 100%. That is a beautiful aspirational goal.
Yeah.
However, come back to doing what you're doing. Why do you do what you do? So, and I always liken this to, what's his name? He's just given up tennis. Not Rafa, the other one.
Yep.
Not Djokovic, the other one. That one, you know. These amazing athletes are not waking up in the morning going, I want to win Wimbledon.
Yeah.
What they're doing is they're thinking, when that ball comes on that angle at that pace, I'm going to hit it back like that.
Yeah.
When the next ball comes and it's on that angle at that pace, I'm going to hit it back. That's what they're focused on. And so my advice to instructors is focus on being an awesome instructor and you might get to Wimbledon.
Yeah. Yes.
But if you focus on Wimbledon, there's a higher chance of you not getting there.
Yeah.
You're coming in with the wrong intention.
Yeah. Or if your focus is Wimbledon, you're a moth to the light. Bzz, gone.
Right? And it'll be short.
Yeah.
It'll be really short, and it might not actually be that much fun.
Yeah. Yep.
Because you're in it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you want to be in a group exercise community for a long time, like I have been, do it because you love it.
Yeah.
And if you do it because you love it, you get noticed.
Yeah.
And if you do it because you love it and you get noticed, then maybe you might become a trainer.
Yep.
Maybe you might become a presenter. Maybe you might end up on a video. But once that video's done, you've got to go back into the gym.
Yep.
And you've got to teach your class on Monday.
Yeah. Because that's the most important place to be.
Right? And your members are your most reliable, valuable, honest form of feedback.
Thank you for saying that, because that's an underlying conversation that I've had with almost all of the Aussie presenter team, that no matter what they're doing at quarterly workshops or if they've had the opportunity to go and be on a masterclass presentation, that they still realise that Monday night, Tuesday night, whatever class they teach back in club is the most important class they have in their week, their life, their whatever it may be, because those guys are the ones that really count. Because if they're not on fire for those guys, they ain't going to be on fire for anybody else. Those guys that they see day in, day out, or week in, week out, are more important than the 4 times a year for a quarterly, or the one chance that you may get for going to do a filming opportunity. It's I'm glad you said that as well, because coming from you, and as I said, with the legacy you hold, that to me is so powerful, and I hope resonates with a lot of listeners in that way, because it's there it is, guys. You heard it here. Yeah.
The words of a wise old owl.
Susan, thank you so much for coming on the show and having a chat to me. I've greatly appreciated getting to know you better, and hopefully sharing what I believe is an amazing story with my listeners as well. So seriously, thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome, and thank you. Now you know what all the fuss is about.
Yeah.